Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
You know what? I think an occasion like this, knowing the order in which the Vikings play their opponents, warrants the flag. Get the flag!
It was ready. It's been ready all afternoon. I've got it warmed up, ready to go. It's flag time. All the victories that are going to come along with the waving of the flag. That's right.
Look at all the victories on this screen right now. And by the way, yes, we're live on the Purple Daily YouTube channel here. Purple Daily, Daily Vikings Entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. Thank you guys for making this one of the most consumed football podcasts in America. We said we don't trust anyone out there. These leaked schedules, you never know. You can never trust anyone. So we said we're going to wait for the official email from the NFL and from the Vikings, and we will share that on the screen. So what you are looking at is literally a screen share on the YouTube channel from our inbox from Vikings Public Relations.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it because in the background you can see it's like my Gmail. You can see literally this is a glimpse into old Macadac's Gmail right here, which is a very dangerous, dark place. But let's
go.
We're gonna pick the schedule. We're gonna give you some observations here. We're hanging out, presented by our friends at TCL. No matter what you watch, TCL has award-winning TVs for any budget, any space, always stunning picture quality. TCL makes more than just TVs. They offer mobile products, audio devices, home appliances. TCL brings you joy and simplicity through innovative technology. Learn more at TCL.com. Old Macadac just had a massage about an hour ago, Judd. He's feeling relaxed and ready to break down the schedule here.
Oh, God. I've been waiting all day for this. And the leaks, I'm shocked, but the last couple leaks I saw were spot on. Spot on, accurate. The league used to crack down on this. They used to be very territorial. I feel like they've let their guard down in 2023.
They may need to crack down if they want to keep this, because it's like, all the teams, the Vikings are tweeting like, go to NFL Network right now to see the schedule. It's like, well, everyone's already seen.
Yeah, you don't really need to do that. And they're going to break down the entire thing. So like they'll barely talk about individual teams unless it's like the Chiefs, right?
Yeah, that's where we come in.
This show is where it's at, because we're only going to talk about one team.
Yes. So, okay, give me because we will go through game by game and we will pick the schedule for the fourth time now this offseason. We picked it 3 times before we knew the order, and now we will pick it a 4th time. Mm-hmm. What is the biggest? There's a million takeaways here, but should we just go through it too, just real quick? So,
sure.
Home Tampa Bay, that's a noon start time. Let me pull this up, pull up the times. Week 1, and then you immediately get that week 2 road game at Philadelphia in prime time.
On Amazon.
On Amazon. Yep. Just a quick turnaround. Boom. One of the best teams in the NFL on the road. A place that Vikings fans love to frequent and get full beer cans thrown at their heads.
Yeah. Make sure to wear your purple jerseys there. The Philadelphia fans love it.
Just wear a Greg Lewis Eagles jersey and let that be your Vikings fandom. So then you get the mini bye week into a home game against the Chargers. Week 3, that's a noon game. These are noon kickoffs unless otherwise said here. And then at Carolina and Adam Thielen in week 4. Home against the Chiefs it looks like a standalone 3:25 game on CBS for week 5. At Chicago Bears, your first division game in week 6. Then you come home to face the Niners on a Monday night. This is now your second primetime game. This Monday Night Football against the Niners in week 7. And then a short week at Green Bay, your first game against the Packers and at Lambeau Field. You don't have to play a December game at Lambeau here in week 8. Then at Falcons week 9. Home against the Saints week 10. At the Denver Broncos in primetime Sunday Night Football.
Better be making hay during this portion of the schedule, gentlemen. Better be making hay.
We'll definitely talk about this stretch of the schedule. Home against the Bears to wrap up your home against the Bears.
Primetime
game Monday night. So back-to-back Sunday and Monday night games. Then you get a very late week 13 bye on December 3rd, followed by back-to-back road games at the Raiders and then at the Bengals. And that Bengals game is kind of a TBD because that's when they start doing Saturday games. So it could be a Saturday game, could be a Sunday game. the week before Christmas. And then you get your first back-to-back home games on December 24th, Christmas Eve against the Lions, and then Sunday Night Football against the Packers on New Year's Eve, followed by another matchup with the Lions. So 2 games against the Lions in the final 3 weeks, and the day and the time are to be determined because the NFL sets that once they know who's in the mix for division. So you wrap it up at the Lions. What's your guys' biggest schedule takeaway?
It's twofold. So last year, in the first 5 games that the Vikings played, they played division opponents 3 times. They opened against the Packers at home. They won there. They played the Lions at home in week 3. They won that game. And they played the Bears, I think, in week 5. If you look at this schedule, there is only one NFC North game in the first 6 weeks. And then where it gets interesting is, I looked this up. The last time the Vikings did not close against a division rival was way back in 2009 when they closed against the Giants. Since then, after that, starting in 2010, the league went to basically division opponents, and then they went to back-to-back, and now they've extended it. I think this is the first time ever to back-to-back-to-back. So what strikes me is the change in the actual division schedule, and those last 3 games indicate to me that a lot of people that work for the league and do the schedule are pretty convinced that the Lions and Vikings are going to be duking it out for the division title. So the big difference is the first portion now basically doesn't give you much of your division at all. The last portion is going to become very intriguing. Can that Packers game be flexed out?
Absolutely.
On December 31st, because if the Packers are hopelessly out, that's a really good spot to have a game.
That game's going to get flexed for.
And I got to think that might go from a night start to an afternoon start. But it's the division, it's the change in who you're facing and when in your division that really stands out to me.
Yeah.
I'm surprised at probably the amount of primetime games they got here. They got a lot of primetime games.
5 primetime games.
13 wins, man.
And no one's guaranteed a Thursday night football game anymore. So the fact that they were given one, and also, I guess my opening takeaway is this: if you fall into a trap at home against the Bucs to start the season, you're going to be 0-2 pretty damn quick. That's my.
So we
get
a trap game in week 1
versus the Bucs, who you're going to be heavily favored against. If you stumble for whatever reason in weird teams win on week 1. So all of a sudden, you have to go to Philly on a short week. You're now 0-2. Yes, I will be Buzz Killington in my first taste of this schedule. That could be very easily 0-2 pretty damn quick.
Yeah, I think so. My main schedule takeaway, just at first glance, and I'm sure as I think more about it, maybe this will change, but we already knew the teams they were playing. So we already knew there were some really tough opponents on paper, right? Chiefs and Niners and Joe Burrow and the Bengals and even that at Broncos game with Sean Payton. Like, there's some tough games on this schedule, but the way it's laid out is kind of brutal for the Vikings. So right away you get Eagles, short week, road game, have fun, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very tough.
And then you get, so here's another tricky one. So the San Francisco game being on a Monday night, obviously like beating San Francisco is hard enough as it is, but the week after teams play San Francisco is statistically really, really hard too, because they beat you up. Teams that played San Francisco were like 2-15 or something last year, the week after. And so you get them on a Monday night and then have to go on the road Packers, which you should be favored, but it's a short week and you're beat up. That's tough. Then you get a week 13 bye. So if there's things that need to be tweaked, the self-scouting week, all that stuff, you don't get that until the season is basically 3/4 of the way over in the early part of December. And the first time the Vikings play, and the only time they play back-to-back home games, is at the end of December. They don't play back-to-back home games until the end of the season, basically. And some of this is because it's the NFC team's year. It's across the board for the NFC that you get 8 home games, 9 road games. So it's not like the Lions are in a different boat in that regard. But it's just kind of like, wow, it's already stacked with road games, and you don't get to sleep in your own bed unless you count the bye week in week 13, because you go home game into a bye for back-to-back weeks until the end of December. So my first glance is there's a lot to overcome with this schedule.
Now,
now we get the Declan schedule here.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
Declan, by the way, you did a phenomenal job with this graphic.
Oh,
I just
God,
want
this
that
was-
to be clear
yeah,
for the audience.
Like one thing I might have changed.
wouldn't have changed
never
a
mind.
thing
Never
with this
mind.
graphic.
No, this is great work. I mean, there's a couple of things that I
Was there a
see, but
typo?
I don't want to talk
I'm
about them.
looking right now. I didn't really
So-
do a good job proofing like I usually do.
So I have also posted a 4-point column breaking down this schedule at VikingsWire.com. But one thing that I point out that's pretty important here, you guys, and it's a positive, is this. There is one game where the Vikings potentially play in the cold in December, Cincinnati. Okay.
Yeah.
Besides that, the only other game where I think the weather, unless there's some unforeseen storm or something, where it could cause issues would be the November 19th game at Denver.
Yeah.
Maybe, but probably
Yeah,
not. I don't know.
It could dump some snow.
Windy or
Denver's
something?
weird,
I don't know.
but it can snow there. It could be 60 degrees there. So, but the point is that Packers game being done, the Bears game at Chicago being done, for an offensive coach that obviously likes to have things as perfect as possible for his quarterback, Kevin O'Connell has to love the part that the Bengals game is really the only one that might be tricky. And, you know, besides that, it goes indoors against the Bears, indoors against Vegas. Bengals is tough. Lions indoors, Packers indoors, and then at Ford Field to end. So I do think it's a very favorable schedule as far as offensive play calling potentially, and not being faced with the adversity of trying to play in Chicago or in Green Bay late in the season.
Well, can we zoom that out to not literally, but like just to the whole schedule? And because the Vikings historically are not a great outdoor team on the road, outdoors. They actually don't play well, regardless of what the roster makeup is. They haven't played well since the 70s on grass or outdoors. And so let's see, at Eagles is outdoors, Panthers is outdoors, Bears, Packers, that's 4, I guess Broncos, and then Bengals. So you do have 6 outdoor games, but most of them are in the early part. This feels like a schedule where if you can just weather a storm early, don't trip up against the Bucs. That Chargers game at home is going to be a sneaky one.
Yep.
But if you can take care of the teams you're supposed to, like Bucs, Panthers, I still think the Bears fall into that category. The Packers and the Falcons should fall into that category. Once you get to like that Packers, Falcons, week 8, week 9, Saints, okay, Broncos, Bears, bye week, Raiders. That's the haymaking. The middle of the schedule from like week after the Niners game, going into week 8 through your bye at Raiders. Late October through early December. That's the stretch where you need to go like 5-1.
Absolutely. And also, Brian Flores, come on down. Week 2, Hurts. Week 3, Herbert. Week 5, Mahomes. So like
week 7, Cousins.
That's secondary. That secondary is going to get tested. And because it's weird. If you look at this, I think Fields is going to be good. I would not certainly put him in the category of the 3 guys that I just named. But if you look at this, once you get past Mahomes potentially, like the next scary quarterback is probably not until Burrow in week 15 at Cincinnati. So like if you can, again, to use your term, Phil, if you can weather that quarterback storm, you should be, as far as that goes, in decent shape. But I mean, that's going to be a trio, a gauntlet of 3 QBs who your sort of inexperienced secondary, or at least the cornerbacks, are going to have to play really, really well.
Oh no! Someone just pointed out that Declan came close to nailing this graphic, but that the dates on the first 2 games are slightly off. That it's September 10th against the Bucs, and it's September 14th against the Eagles.
There we go.
And then we get September 24th. Declan was pitching a near perfect game there with this graphic, and just got tripped up with the September dates there.
Shout out to the Purple Daily listeners.
So hopefully you guys can manage as you're looking at the schedule. But
so he appreciates them. He
Oh, yeah.
appreciates the listeners.
You guys are
But when
great.
Phil pointed something out,
amazing.
damn.
So, all right, we're going to pick this schedule, and we see a lot of you guys are throwing in the YouTube comment sections. I've seen some people say 5 wins. Really? 5 wins?
5?
If people stay healthy, but we'll go through and pick the games here in just a moment. But a shout out to our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company for helping keep the lights on here, for better or worse, at Purple Daily and across Score North. We appreciate their partnership. If you're a business owner, and even furthermore, if you are a next generation business owner, so maybe you're taking over a company from your parents, your family, or maybe you are a higher up business leader inside of a company and you're on the rise, Federated Insurance works very closely with all kinds of business owners, but next generation business owners. So find out if the industry you work in matches the industries they specialize in at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. And a shout out to our new friends at 3Jack, one of our favorite places in the North Loop, Minneapolis. So let me put 3 things together for you in a picture here. Great drinks, great food, and golf simulators, folks.
Those are all of my favorite things right there, man. Look, yeah, you can actually play different courses around. You can actually, put up dartboards. You can do different things in those golf sims. If you want to put Kirk Cousins' face up there too, that's you're more than welcome to do that. They actually put the games on for you there at 3Jack. Maybe you want to snack on some of these nachos or the steak sandwich that I also had there, which was phenomenal. So you have great food, you have great golf simulators, a great beer selection. I mean, those are to Phil's point. Those are all of my favorite things. I know they're all favorite things of Phil and Judd's too. So go to 3jack.com. You can book an appointment for a simulator. They also have some great golf leagues too. So you want to get some swings in maybe during your lunch break or during the weekend when you want to get an extra swing of golfs in. Go to 3jack and 3jack.com.
All right, guys. Should we pick it? Should we do this right here?
I've been waiting all day.
For Sunday night.
God, there's so many tentacles. We'll do more schedule talk tomorrow too, but the holiday slate, we've got our full 3 Christmas Day slate of games.
God, I love
Raiders Chiefs at noon, Giants Eagles at 3:30, and then Ravens 49ers at 7:15. Thanksgiving, Packers Lions, Commanders Cowboys, Niners Seahawks. So the Niners play on Christmas and Thanksgiving this year. They can really pull the Judd and get away from their family.
I think within the next 5 years, we will have, within the next 2 years or so, I think we will have the ability to flex Monday nights, and they've talked about this, Thursday nights. Within the next 5 years, they will flex Christmas Day. They'll flex it around.
Can we flex Monday nights this year?
I don't think you can yet.
Okay,
I'm not positive on that.
They've approved
I'm
that.
not. I might be wrong there, but they talked about so when they agreed that you could appear on Thursday night twice in a season, the actual goal is to flex that game as well.
Okay.
So all I'm saying is that the Christmas Day bonanza might get more attractive because I don't think the league's really concerned about families. I don't think the league's really concerned about people.
The league only cares about the league.
About us watching the games,
No.
kicking back on the couch.
All right, let's go through here. Keep track of your own wins and losses, and we'll tally up at the end. But we'll start with a week 1 trap game, a home game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, noon, CBS.
It's a win. It's a win. Baker Mayfield starts for the Bucs. I think the Bucs are going to be terrible, as I've been saying on purpose, though. I also don't think O'Connell year 2 is going to have his team get trapped, at least not in this game. Vikings come away with what I'm going to say is a fairly convincing win at home.
Yeah, it's a win. I'd like to point out though, again, weird teams win on week 1 every year. Oh, hey, have you seen remember like when the Bucs went 2-0, I think, with Ryan Fitzpatrick, even the year before Brady came in, or whatever year that was, and everyone's kind of buying some Bucs stock. Weird teams win on week 1 and they stumble. Hell, I think the Bengals started 0-2 last season before end up obviously being in the AFC title game as well. So weird things can happen. This is a win for me. But I wouldn't be shocked if it gets a little wonky, but it's a win.
I think the fact that the Buccaneers are the Buccaneers are bringing in new quarterback. They've just got a bunch of chaos happening, and the Vikings offense is essentially the exact same personnel with the exact same system, head coach, coordinator, quarterback, continuity. It's a home game. continuity will win out, even though you're right, week 1 gets weird. I don't think this game falls into the weird category, so it's a win for the Vikings. And then 5 minutes later on Thursday night, the Vikings travel to Philadelphia to face the Eagles in primetime on Amazon Prime.
Unfortunately, I can't do it. It'd be nice, upset, avenge a week 2 loss in primetime on Monday night last year, but I can't. The Vikings will come away from this game 1-1.
Yeah, just an L. I know I'm actually probably doing this in reverse order on people. How are they watching on the screen? But it's an L. It's a loss. It's an easy loss for me. Short week, tough place to play. And the funny thing is, there's always a Super Bowl hangover between one of the two teams that go to the Super Bowl every year. You'd like to think it's not the Chiefs because they have Pat Mahomes. So is it the Eagles?
So this is a win for the Vikings.
Oh.
For a few different reasons. Declan touched on one of them. The team that goes to the Super Bowl and loses, this isn't like the NBA where you go through the different steps and you finally get there and then you get the doorstep and you lose. Teams that get to the Super Bowl and lose, it's really hard to get up and get back. The Eagles lost a bunch of key players in free agency. I think they get off to a slow start this year. It's a short week, not only for the Vikings, but for the Eagles as well. And again, continuity, Vikings bringing back the entire offense. The defense, I think it's good that there's no continuity. Just be more aggressive and fly around and be faster and younger. So I have the Vikings beating the Eagles in week 2 to start 2-0 on this schedule, which brings us to week 3.
Wow. Update per Schefter, the Monday Night Football schedule, flex scheduling in 2023 is eligible to begin in week 12 when the Vikings host the Bears. Week 12, we will get, so Phil, what you said is correct. Flex scheduling starts in week 12 with that Vikings-Bears game. So
there it is.
Monday nights can change now, which I just absolutely love.
People calling me a homer in the comment section here, too.
Well, Philadelphia won. I get your logic. I can't do it.
It's not a homer take. Trust me, like this is not a homer show in that regard.
No, I didn't think
it's a logical. The schedule doesn't play out the way that you think it will, and I'm telling you that something weird's going to happen early on, and this is it.
All right. Okay.
Okay,
Week 3.
home against the Chargers. Week 3, noon, Fox.
Eric Kendricks comes calling. That's not the problem. The problem is Justin Herbert. This is an O'Connell Cousins shootout against O'Connell's good friend Brandon Staley, Declan's favorite coach, a former assistant at St. Thomas, and it goes down to the wire. But you know what? The Vikings at home pull out a win.
Win for me. Win for me too. I think I'm like the only Justin Herbert guy that's not have both feet in the water yet. He's a generational guy. I think he's got a lot of talent. But is coaching holding him back? Is he holding himself back? He's got my guy Kellen Moore as an OC now, 2 down there with the Chargers, which I love for him. But I think this is a win for the Vikings. They do win this game.
Yeah, I also say it's a win for the Vikings. You get the extra few days to prepare for the game. There's something weird about this team.
3-0.
So I got him starting 3-0 here.
Wow. Sounds excited. That'd be great.
This is great. Phil rips a guy for saying 5 wins,
now,
but then
you're just getting crucified.
But
now
then he has the
comments.
Vikings going into Philadelphia in week 2 and winning that game. I mean, it's football, man. Every game is like a 6-point spread at most. I don't know why people are so shocked by this. All right, week 4 at the Carolina Panthers, noon on Fox.
Yeah, so Thielen goes off. Big game for him. 9 catches, 124 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Really? He hasn't had 100 yards in years, right?
Dancing in the end zone. It's just the greatest day. He might retire immediately after this game, but you know what? In the end, the personal stats don't matter. You know what matters. Wins and losses. Vikings win here. It's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be very, very close. I am not predicting a blowout, but I think the Vikings win. I have them going to 3-1.
North Carolina is a transplant state. I know that speaking from with my brother living there and everyone else just not being from there. So that's not a hostile environment by any means. Like, it's Carolina. It's not like you're going to Arrowhead. You're not going to Lambeau, dude. I would actually bet there is a good contingent of purple in those stands when the Vikings go there. This is a win. I actually think of all the road games, this is one of the easier ones for me. We'll see what happens, obviously, with Bryce Young, if he's starting this game or not, or if it's hashtag QB1 Andy Dalton. But I have the Vikings regardless winning this game. They're 3-1.
This is a trap game, gentlemen. The Carolina Panthers have a real, actual adult head coach for the first time. This is an outdoor game on grass. Weird things happen, and people like, well, the Panthers were picking number one because they traded into the number one spot. The Panthers are not actually one of the worst teams in the NFL. The Panthers won 7 games last year. They are a feisty, competitive team with a coaching upgrade and a plug-and-play franchise quarterback. They've got some weapons. I think this is a step in a mud hole loss for the Vikings at Panthers in Week 4. So this is their first loss of the season for me, 3-1.
All right.
We get to Week 5, and we go to the Kansas City Chiefs coming to U.S. Bank Stadium, a 3:25 kickoff on CBS. So a featured game, a Jim Nantz, Tony Romo game here, maybe.
Oh, God.
Yeah, which is death, which is absolute death. Because whenever those two guys show up at the bank, guess what happens? The Vikings lose. And in this game, they lose. This defense, look, if they can weather the storm a little bit, okay, that's great. But again, this is the end of a trio of really good QBs. The defense is going to be improved, but the cornerbacks are young still. The Vikings lose. They fall to 3-2.
This is a loss for me. Chiefs are damn good. I will say, though, even though there's a lot of ball game left in the season, this could be a statement win for the Vikings because I would have them going in 3-1 at this point. Now, all of a sudden, you're hosting the Super Bowl winning Chiefs, best quarterback in the world on Patrick Mahomes. And I know it's at home, but regardless, you make a statement at home. It's a loss for me, but this has a lot of ramifications that if they're able to pull off a big win, it could be a big moment for the Vikings going forward.
So this is interesting because Brian Flores actually has some experience flustering Patrick Mahomes with that Miami team a couple years ago. So I wouldn't be shocked if Brian Flores had a thing or two in the bag for Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes here. But at the end of the day, I think it's so early in the season here for the Vikings still. It's early October. I think Mahomes feasts on a young, inexperienced secondary, largely minus Harrison Smith, and potentially some young linebackers as well. So I think this is a fun game, but I think the Chiefs go into U.S. Bank Stadium and win that one. Okay, Week 6, first divisional game at the Chicago Bears, noon on Fox. This might be our first Kenny Albert game, gentlemen.
Oh!
Welcome to Soldier Field, where the Minnesota Vikings take on the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I'll be doing the Blackhawks game tonight because I call every
I'm calling both
sport,
games at the same time.
and then I'm going to the Bulls game, and I'm going to call that. I don't even know for whom. The Vikings win. In fact, I'm going to predict that. So the Bears are going to be improved, and the Vikings have struggled at Chicago in the past. But I feel like the Bears have been so bad of late that has become much less of a storyline. Vikings win this game.
Loss for me. I think you're going to go into Chicago, and even though it's October, it shouldn't be bad weather, but certainly probably not great weather either. And Justin Fields and I think the Bears are improved enough here. It's a tough place to win, even though you've played well there recently in the last few seasons. I have this as a loss. This is a road loss for me.
So, yeah, it's tempting because these games at Chicago can be tricky here, but I think the Vikings' upgrade of speed on defense is going to help contain Justin Fields from going for like 120 yards on the ground. And I think Brian Flores mixing in a bunch of exotic blitzes, Harrison Smith doing Harrison Smith things. They're going to force a couple turnovers or just force like one of those 9 for 26 games from Justin Fields. So I think the Vikings defense plays well here, and they win this game in Week 6.
If the Vikings lose, it will be on one man and one man alone. Greg Joseph will miss at least 2 field goals.
I thought you were going Kirk there for a second.
No, bad turf, park board turf, terrible turf, windy day. Yeah. Greg Joseph will take the L.
All right, we get another primetime game here. Monday Night Football, Week 7 against the San Francisco 49ers.
So, back in the day, Brad Childress got psyched out, and a lot of guys did, coaches did, by Bill Belichick, right? It was Patriots week, and he would get weird, and I'm going to say this. I think Kyle Shanahan goes in with an advantage against a lot of guys from this coaching tree, potentially, like O'Connell, who's still young. I think he's good, but I'm going to go with San Francisco winning this game. The Vikings lose, so they are 4-3 on my chart.
I have this as a Vikings win. I think they'll be able to beat the 49ers at home. And I don't know if this is Trey Lance or Sam Darnold. And the Niners have had a really good good roster, for like the last 5 years. And everyone loves them. But you know what eventually happens in the NFL? Rosters erode. They've had the same guys forever. When are the San Francisco 49ers going to eventually hit the wall that's inevitably coming for them? And is it in 2023? And I kind of feel this one might be the year that they take a slight step back. And I think the Vikings are going to be the ones that win this game at home in primetime at US Bank Stadium.
I'm struggling with some opposing forces here. There's the primetime Kirk force. That's like, okay, I don't know what's he going to do on Monday Night Football. But then there's the who's playing quarterback for the 49ers force. And then there's the 49ers defense.
Yeah.
Regardless of who the quarterback is, force. And so I guess all things added together, I think the Niners defense is enough to fluster Kirk in a primetime spot. But this is one of the games I don't have a great feel for, but I'm going to say it's a loss for the Vikings for now.
I'm going to predict that in this 3-game stretch that starts with Kansas City and ends with the Niners, I'm going to predict that 2 of the 3 games, this game and the Mahomes game, Brian Asamoah is exploited and struggles.
Yeah.
Still young. These quarterbacks are primed to they know exactly. Shanahan will know exactly how to pick on him.
Yeah.
I think that Brian Flores might struggle with his linebackers to win the matchups for sure against the Chiefs and perhaps against Shanahan and the 49ers.
Okay, let's go. It's a short week now, a Monday night turnaround to a noon game, week 8 at the Green Bay Packers, October 29th. So it shouldn't be too bad at Lambeau Field.
It won't be bad, but the scoreboard will not be favorable for the Purple. They will lose this game. I struggled to have them sweeping Green Bay, and it seems like, and of course this was the case with the late season game at Lambeau last year. It feels like the Vikings have started to struggle there, but like they did in Chicago. I'm going to go loss here, and so 8 games in there, 4-4.
Dex?
Win for me. Because you know what? I want the Packers to be terrible. Like and there's a reason for them.
Emotional pick here by
this
Declan.
is an emotional pick. It really is. I want you to feel like what it's like to not know if you have a good quarterback. And you've only had a Hall of Fame quarterback since I've been born. So I just want you to be really, really bad. And I hope the Vikings go into Lambeau Field and just smoke the Packers. I don't get this much irrational as I've gotten older with these divisional and rivals and whatnot with the Packers and Bears. But I just want this one to happen. I would love the Vikings going to Lambeau Field and just kick the crap out of them. So it's a win.
All right, I'm with Judd. It's more about the way the schedule's laid out than anything, or it's a loss. What did I say? It's a loss for the Vikings here. So it's a short week after a 49ers black and blue bruising battle.
Yep.
And the Packers roster, people are just ready to say, oh, we're going from Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. Therefore, the Packers are going to go from formidable to complete garbage. I'm not ready to say that. Their roster is still good. Aaron Rodgers was not even that great last year. So it doesn't take a lot for Jordan Love. So it's more of a schedule loss for me, but it is a loss at Lambeau Field. And then the next week, they go back-to-back road games for the first time all year at Atlanta in week 9, noon game on Fox. That's a Chris Myers special right there, probably, huh?
Oh, yeah. Hey, everybody, it's Chris Myers, and that's a big return. I think that this game is probably close. It's a trap game, but the Vikings win it. The Falcons, look, I think that they are, I don't know what they are exactly, but they don't scare you. They're coming off, that division in 2022 was atrocious. So I'm going with the Vikings ending their 2-game losing streak and beating the Falcons in Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
It's a win for me. I don't think the Falcons are going to be anything special this year. They're building towards something else. Is it Desmond Ritter? Is he still going to be their quarterback by then? I don't even know. But I have this as one of their easier road wins for me. This is a win for me. They're going streaking. They're 6-3 for me right now.
The Falcons are feistier than people think, but it's a win for me as well, coming off of a couple tough games. So now we get to week 10, back at home here against the New Orleans Saints, noon on Fox.
Derek Carr comes to town and the Vikings win. So I now have them going from a 2-game losing streak to a 2-game winning streak, improving to 6-4. They beat the Saints.
They're going to stumble here. I think Derek Carr and the Saints are very improved. I do like Derek Carr. I like his leadership skills a lot more. He's not AFC Kirk anymore. He's now NFC Kirk. They're in the same conference. But I think this is a stumble. This is classic Minnesota, too, in my schedule, how this is laying out. Hey, you've won 3 in a row. You made some statements, right, against the Packers and Niners. You're feeling really good about yourself. And then at home, you just get slapped in the face a little bit. So this is a loss for me.
All right. And so I have this as a win. I don't know that the Saints are kind of tough to read. They're competitive, and Derek Carr is a competitive, but Derek Carr could also throw 2 or 3 interceptions and derail a game. But I think a nice, cozy home game here for the Vikings, and they get a win. So we're through 10 weeks here. I have them at 6-4.
Yep.
What do you guys have them?
6-4.
6-4.
Wow. Okay. Mm-hmm. Look at this. Very different routes to get there.
Yeah.
But we all have them 6-4 so far. Okay, now we go back to prime time here. The Vikings' first Sunday night football game of the season. Now here's a guy, Russell Wilson, at the Denver Broncos. Sunday night football, week 11.
This is a loss. The Broncos, people are going to say, the Broncos suck. Wilson's cooked, blah, blah, blah. Sean Payton is a good coach. And look, I think Nathaniel Hackett was so far in over his head, it was remarkable. I think the Broncos bounce back. I think that the Broncos are going to be competitive, which, of course, a ton of people thought they'd be competitive in 2022. The Broncos win this game. I could even see this being a bit of a blowout, but Denver, Sunday night, here's a guy that surprised everybody. Sean Payton might be coach of the year. He's a candidate. He's really good. I'm not a big fan personally, but he's a good coach.
It's all set up, right? Because coach of the year is all perception.
Oh, God, if he has a good
season. If you take a team that's bad and they become good, or a quarterback that's not good, and like Brian Dable, did he win coach of the year? He was in the mix.
Yeah.
Same thing, right?
Yep, exactly right.
All right, Dex?
Loss for me, too. You can't. I've actually had the Vikings playing pretty well on the road thus far, and you're going to stumble somewhere on the road. You're not really always going to be great on the road, so I think this one is a loss for me. It's a loss in Denver.
Yeah, a lot of forces at play here. I know that I had them beating the Eagles in week 2, but it's outdoors, it's altitude, it's prime time. The Broncos are going to be better. I agree with you guys. So as much as I'd love to try and go against the grain here, I do think this is a tough one, and the Vikings will lose. So 6-5, I guess, all of us. Okay, now back-to-back primetime games. Home against the Bears on Monday Night Football, Week 12. This could get flexed out technically. This is the first week they can flex it, but we'll see. So what do you think?
So I think that Kirk O'Chains gets picked 3 times against the Broncos, but in this game, Justin Fields gets picked 3 times, and the Vikings come back with a convincing punch to the Bears and win this game. Cousins comes back and throws for 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's a get-right game after dropping back-to-back, at least in my mock. They should be able to take care of the Bears at home. You'll split it with Chicago, too, for me. So this is a win for me on Monday Night Football. I
got the Vikings sweeping the Chicago Bears. I think the Bears are still a year away from – they might even be a quarterback away. I'm not sure about Justin Fields yet, but I'm not saying these are blowouts, but I do think the Vikings take care of the Bears twice. Okay, then a December 3rd bye week in Week 13. And out of the bye, it's back-to-back road games for the second time this season, starting with at the Las Vegas Raiders, Week 14, 3 o'clock kickoff on Fox.
Tons of purple there, right? Tons of purple. Oh, yeah.
I have a
gambling
text already going with friends asking, can we go to this game? It's already been a thing.
It's absolutely incredible. Unfortunately, Sin City takes its toll on the team.
Whoa, out of a
Jimmy
bye.
Garoppolo and the Raiders. This is where they stumble a bit. We got a little bit of a stumble. The Raiders win.
I have this as a win, but I'm want to lean towards Judd's logic here, even though it's out of a bye. I get it. Sin City, there's some distractions at play to a degree. Jimmy G should make the Raiders, a little feistier for sure. I have this as a loss for what did I have that as? I'm sorry.
You said win.
I have a win.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
said win.
I was looking at the next game.
But you agree with my
Agree with
Like,
your
you just
logic,
got
but
a lot
it's
of
a
guys
win.
having a lot of
This
fun.
is probably the toughest one I had
Business
though. This
trip.
is a toss up.
What do you think they do? They fly in on like Saturday morning. You think they just go gamble all night and we're gonna
Here's the
get
problem.
drunk till 5 a.m. and then
They'll
play
have been there
3
during the
o'clock
bye
game?
week. That's the problem. They come back a little bit groggy from the bye
No.
week. It's a late bye week.
This is absurd. This is a decisive win for the Vikings coming out of the bye. Self-scouting week pays off here, and the Vikings handle the Raiders and maybe send a coaching staff packing here at some point.
Interesting.
Josh McDaniels.
I don't
So
think they can afford to send that.
8-5.
Backing.
Back-to-back wins. Okay, Vikings haven't lost in 3 weeks because they have 2 wins and a bye.
Not
All right,
my
now we
world.
go at the Cincinnati Bengals. The day and the time to be determined because this is when you get Saturday games, and the network. But they play the Bengals in Week 15 on the road.
Welcome back to quarterback reality of an all-star cast that basically came to a conclusion for an extended period with the Mahomes game. Well, it's back. Joe Burrow, cold weather, but Burrow, like if it's Burrow v. Cousins, sorry, Crusaders, I'm going to favor Joe Burrow, especially this time of year in his home stadium. Sorry, it's a loss.
I have this a loss too. I think he's the best quarterback not named Patrick Mahomes, and I think that gap also is shrinking a bit. I really like Joe Burrow. I like him a lot, and to Judd's point, face-to-face, December elements against you, I like Joe Burrow and the Bengals here. This is a loss for the Vikings.
Okay, yeah, I think it's a loss. Although the Vikings have surprised a couple times, right? Going to Buffalo last year, come back from down 17.
Absolutely.
The Vikings can put up some fights on the road.
Absolutely.
But I think this Bengals team is one of the best in the NFL. Joe Burrow's at the peak of his powers. This is the time of year where they're going to be peaking, heading toward the playoffs, right? So this is a really tough game. I believe it is a loss for the Vikings. So, all right, record update here going into the final 3 games. What do you guys have?
7-7.
8-6. for me.
8-6 as well for old Macadac here. All right, the first of 2 games against the Lions in the final 3 weeks. Christmas Eve, home at US Bank Stadium, noon kickoff on Fox.
Deck the halls and kick the Lions' ass. Vikings win.
Print the shirts.
Okay.
I like that. Yeah, it's a win for me. I think, spoiler alert, I think they'll split with Detroit. They're pretty good. But I think whoever wins this one is going to be in better position, obviously, to win the North since you have one more meeting with them. But I think they win this one. They'll win this one at home.
Okay, there's a method to my madness here, but I think they lose this game.
Okay.
I think they lose the first game to the Lions. I do think the Lions are competitive. They're feisty. I know that they haven't ever won the NFC North. The last time they won the division, it was the NFC Central. But the Lions are going to be smelling divisional blood here late in the season. They're going to be in the mix. And I think they surprise the Vikings a little bit on Christmas Eve. So I have it as a loss.
Okay.
And then we go to week 17, home against the Packers. At least for now, this game is scheduled for Sunday nights.
Jordan Love has thrown 47 interceptions. Can he avoid 50? This is a split, and so the Vikings win this game. If this game is indeed played on New Year's Eve, prime time, hold on to your hat, boys. This is going to be one inebriated crowd. This is going to be one rowdy crowd.
I didn't even think of that. Oh, my God.
Waiting all day for Sunday night. The cops are going to be surrounding the stadium, and if you drive, God help you, if you drink and drive. This is a Vikings win. This is a Vikings win, though.
I have it as a win, too, for the same reasons that I said earlier against the Packers. I think the Packers are going to be bad this year, so I have it as a win.
Yeah, this is the revenge game. I think I gave them a schedule loss at Green Bay, middle of the season after the short week against the Niners. The Vikings win their final home game here, send everyone down the street to whatever bar they want to celebrate the last hour and a half of the 2023 calendar year. And so going into the final week of the season, I have them 9-7.
The fans will come to the Mackey abode. You're right by there. It'd be perfect.
Yes. Let's give everyone my exact address that night, too. They can always come over.
Hey, it's coming.
I do live in the neighborhood.
60,000 people.
You guys want to be on Purple Daily? It'll be great. All right, so I've got them 9-7 going into the final game. You guys, 9-7?
10-6.
10-6. Okay.
Yeah, in good shape. Pretty damn
So
good.
curious to hear, Declan, on kind of where you think this game stands at Lions. The day and the time and the network are all TBD, but at Lions to finish the season.
I have it as a win. So the Vikings finished the regular season with 3 straight wins, an NFC North crown,
Wow.
and at the very least a 3 seed again in the NFC playoffs.
Wow.
At
Okay.
the very least a 3 seed in the NFC playoffs. So I have the Vikings finishing the regular season with 3 straight wins, including 3 straight against your divisional foes, putting the Lions' potential playoff hopes to bed. They could still sneak in, obviously, as the wild card team, even if the Vikings win this game. So I have the Vikings going 11-6.
Dude, there's a good chance if you've got the Lions in the mix there too, this could easily be a primetime game, right? This could be the Sunday night game to wrap the season.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Which would be a blast.
Didn't Green Bay, Detroit get flexed into this exact spot last year when it was A-Rod's last game? All right, so here's what I got going on here, okay? So part of what the Vikings story is going to be is the improbability of the comebacks of 2022 are going to dry up some, just because you're not going to have 8 fourth quarter comebacks. So this is going to be a redo of the late regular season Giants game. Greg Joseph from 53 yards for the win at Ford Field. Hold on to your hats. Here's the kick.
Oh no.
It's end over end. It's going towards it goes wide.
Wow, what a buzzkill.
And the Vikings lose this game and finish the season at 9-8.
And do they make the playoffs? So the Lions would win the division in this scenario, probably, right?
They might, you know what? They might not, because I think the East is going to be pretty strong.
Okay.
But they'd be a borderline playoff team.
Depending on tiebreakers.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had them, remember, losing the taste in people's mouths on Christmas if it plays out this way. Back-to-back losses to the Bengals and the Lions. God, the Vikings controlled their own destiny, and then they lost those back-to-back games, and you wake up and there's coal in your stocking on Christmas, and the Lions have the division lead. This game will still be for the division, I believe.
Okay.
Because I think the Lions are going to be in that 9 or 10 win mix here.
Okay.
So depending on tiebreakers, I think this game could still be for the division. At the very least, it's for the Vikings to get into the playoffs. And I believe the Vikings dagger the Lions in the Motor City, and they win that game to get to 10-7 and finish on a high note. Get the flag.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't have it out because I
were.
was thinking about my picks, and that's all I cared about. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, Purple Daily audience. I didn't mean to crap on Phil's 10-7.
So Declan is the most optimistic here, 11-6. Judd 9-8 is the least optimistic, and then I'm in the middle at 10-7. Mac, you homer, have him starting 3-0. Listen, it's a gauntlet schedule. Okay, weird things happen.
It is a hard schedule.
10-7.
It shakes out. I wouldn't say it's terrible, but it definitely is going to create some interesting sequences.
Yeah, there's a chance
It's difficult.
they could be a better team than last year and wind up winning like 3 or 4 fewer games.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if in our scenarios here, all 3 of us, if they wind up with a better point differential than the 13-win team they had last year. Wouldn't be shocking.
I agree with that. Totally.
So, all right, boys, there it is. We just picked the schedule. Let us know. We see a bunch of people putting, I think the most common, I feel like 9-10 wins. I do see some 6-11s in here.
Yeah, I'm getting picked on.
The Saint says 5-12. Judd stopped being a negative Nancy.
I mean, I'm sorry. Okay, it's a tough schedule.
They're 8.5 right now at Vegas. Actually, that was this morning too. I don't know if lines have now shifted now that the schedule is out. I don't know if that's probably. I'm guessing it shifts to a degree.
Maybe like a half win here and there. Because I'm guessing the order of the teams probably doesn't move lines that much, but like it moved at least one game for me. That Packers game coming, the short week road game, outdoors, coming off a Niners.
San Francisco. Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. And we'll have more thoughts on the schedule tomorrow. We'll do some more. I think maybe tomorrow we devote some time to the quarterbacks that they wind up facing on this schedule, because there are some Hall of Famers on this list, but there's also some really weird soft spots when it comes to quarterbacks. So we'll do that on tomorrow's show.
Sam
Thank
Darnold,
you guys for hanging out with us.
Brock Purdy. Who do we get?
Dude, I don't know. What
Trey
are they
Lance.
doing? What are they going to do?
I don't know.
They
Like,
have
is Trey
a
Lance
Super
a
Bowl
possibility?
team.
Like, is Trey Lance? I don't even hear him talked about.
I don't know. It's maybe Kyle Shanahan's greatest work will be getting MVP votes for Sam Darnold in 2023.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Not wrong.
So thank you, everyone. If you're still hanging out here, please click subscribe and the like button on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. It helps spread the word about the show. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, a 5-star rating and a positive review helps us spread the word on that platform as well. So, yeah, keep the record predictions coming here. Hit us up, and then we'll be back tomorrow with some more scheduled discussion. And also over on Mackey and Judd, Minnesota Sports with Mackey and Judd, we'll do another batch of feedback Friday tomorrow. So see you guys.